Welcome to the Selina Ray Show on webseriesnetwork.com. I'm Selina, and this is my guest, Dr. Ray. He is a spiritual psychologist, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Well, welcome, Dr. Ray.
Hello.
It's so nice to be here. Santa Monica, nice and cool.
20 degrees cooler than most places
Yes,
in the surrounding areas,
right.
absolutely.
Pasadena was really warm when I left, so it was nice to come to the coast.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for being my guest today.
You're welcome.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what motivated you, or what inspired you to get into this line of work?
Well, I have a master's in counseling psychology and a doctorate in clinical psychology, but I originally got into this line of work to work on myself, and it came in more through the spiritual vein, meaning that I tried hypnosis, meditation, qigong, and different modalities such as that, and then later on got my doctorate. But just through my own healing process, I basically realized that there was something missing in psychology. So my work really incorporates Eastern philosophy and techniques with the Western model.
Okay. And that's what inspired you. So, I mean, you know that.
Pretty much my own work. I mean,
Okay.
I really like. Yeah, I guess I didn't kind of answer your question
No, that's
there.
okay, because we will want to know. Like,
well,
what,
you know, when I was a little
inspires
boy,
you?
I had
Right.
this dog, and I just always had this
Right.
interest. Actually, when I was 7 years old, I had a near-death experience. I fell 3 stories. And when I was 16 years old, I actually overdosed and had a near-death experience also. And just through that, I've always been fascinated with the human mind and spirituality.
Okay.
So.
Yes. So perfect.
There you go.
There you are.
There,
A spiritual psychologist, right?
Exactly.
And I love that realm. The spiritual realm is really interesting to me.
Yes.
So I'm fascinated by your work, and
Yes.
I think all my research that I've done on you shows that, kind of reveals kind of that thread that you have. And
I have pretty cool parents too. My dad is Jewish and my mom is more Buddhist, so I never had any religion imposed on me. So I was always able to kind of explore different ways of looking at life.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Great. Well, today I'd like to talk to you about women's sexuality.
Cool. Isn't that interesting
Yeah,
you're
I know.
asking a man about that?
I know.
In fact, I just got off the phone with someone, like, it's interesting that they're asking a man. But she said, you know, I can see how a man might be able to be more objective. And
Right. No,
so,
and you do a lot of work with women
80%,
and sexuality,
yeah,
right?
80% of my clients are women, and then I also lead women's groups.
Great, great. That's why we're talking today.
Yes.
So because I've read some things about your work, and you talk about the challenges women face with regards to their sexuality.
Yes.
And what kinds of challenges do you see? Like, what are you seeing that women are having challenges with specifically, or
actually,
in
well, in our culture, as you see through the media, that there's the ads. If you want to sell a car, put a half-naked woman next to the car, and so on and so on. So children at an early age, or women at an early age, feel as though that this is the way that you present yourself. And then secondly, there's people are really into pornography in this culture. I mean, other places also, but a lot of men project their fantasies onto men and project their fantasies onto women on how they would like them to be sexually. And so a lot of women are not satisfied. And so in addition to that is women confuse, or our culture in general, confuse femininity with sexuality. They both are intertwined, but a woman moving and dancing and being like this doesn't necessarily mean she's being flirtatious. It might mean that she's being feminine. I mean, if you watch, say, a very feminine gay man, he's going to move the same way.
Right, exactly.
And they don't necessarily, we don't usually say, oh, he's coming on to me. No, he's being gay.
Right.
He's happy.
Right.
And so, like, little girls, they, at a very early age, will display that very feminine energy.
It's inherent, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And so when they're, say, 12 years old and they start developing breasts and things like that, and they're being feminine, their father might say, you're being sexual now. Now it's changed because of the way that they're developing. And so a lot of women start suppressing that part of themselves because they start feeling as though they're giving out mixed messages.
Because of what's being reflected back to them.
Absolutely.
Culturally, and by maybe their father figures or brothers or brothers' friends, because that's the training.
Yes.
It's how we've been.
And men, they don't really understand the difference between feminine energy and masculine energy. They just see a woman being a certain way, and they've been taught that that's, you know, a woman coming on to you. It's funny that, like, men think that women will dress really sexy and say show their breasts and whatever to have to basically have a man come on to them or whatever it is that they want to get laid. But what is interesting is that women usually dress for other women, meaning that other women usually check out other women.
That's
they're really into the clothes, the fabrics. They
Right.
want to feel sexy, not to get laid.
Right.
I mean, some, of course, if they want to feel more sexy, they might put on darker reds or some type of lingerie that puts them in the mood. But doesn't necessarily mean that oh, I'm gonna put this on because I want to get laid. It's just they want to connect to that part of themselves. So it's an example. You know, men don't realize that. You know, women can be very happy wearing these Can I swear on this?
Please.
Okay. Women can wear these "come fuck me" boots on, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going out there to get laid.
Right.
You know, they want that attention.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they're getting the attention from both male and female.
Absolutely.
At the same time,
And that's another thing to talk about men and women. And men are more the observers, they kind of watch, whereas women kind of feel into life. They like to dance. If you go to a party or a nightclub, usually it's the women who are dancing and the men are watching.
Right.
And women like that.
Okay, good.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with regards to our sexuality, there are challenges. Some women are non-orgasmic, and we were talking a little bit about that, about how can we overcome that, or how can we, heal that non-orgasmic aspect that some of us might have, because I know that's all part of how we feel about ourselves sexually.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, an orgasm is basically a muscle contraction.
Right.
And so if you're stressed out, if you're not comfortable with your body, you're not going to be able to relax into the experience. That is why a lot of these ceremonial type of exercises that connect to the feminine design is all about dance. It's about breathing to the body, opening up the chakras, and for a woman to feel into themselves. A woman who's non-orgasmic probably is not really familiar with her own sexuality. And she maybe hasn't really explored herself with love and compassion and with just her own idea of what sexuality means to her.
Right.
I mean, she might be seeing herself the way that has been imposed onto her by her culture or her ex-boyfriend and so on. If a woman's first experience was painful and she felt violated, that energy might stay in her body. I mean, women will get massages, and when they're starting to get massages in between, say, the thighs, stuff might come up.
Right.
I mean, that old trauma, they might start feeling that old trauma that had once been there before is still there. And so when they're trying to make love to their husband, boyfriend, or just with themselves, that comes up, but it's unconscious.
Okay.
And so it's really about reconnecting to your body, bringing light to your part of your body, exploring with vibrators, dildos, soft touch.
Right.
I mean, what's really helpful, at least for couples, is for a couple, whether it's a man or a woman, is that for them to explore their body and their partner to participate without any expectations.
Right.
I mean, just allow the woman to receive, to be touched softly without a goal in mind.
Right.
Because if there's a goal in mind, the energy moves back from here in the genital area, back into the head, and they start overthinking again, no longer in this part of their body to allow themselves to let go.
Okay. And that kind of speaks into the way you work with your clients. And so if I came to you and I said, I'm really having this really difficult time, I can't have an orgasm. So how would you treat that? I mean, I know that it might take a process, but what is the route?
Well, kind of like what you and I just did right now. I explained to you. I might do some of the breathing exercises to you. I might teach you how to breathe into your perineum and pull it up and hold the energy there and let it go. I also might give you CDs that have different exercises that you can do outside of therapy where you can actually be naked. I don't have clients get naked. Not that type of therapy. But that would be a start. And there's things that you can do also. Again, I might do a body scan where you connect to the old trauma and release it here. So when you go home, you're going to be much more relaxed anyway.
Okay.
So definitely a lot of the trauma work I'll do here.
All right.
And trauma doesn't have to necessarily mean where you like sexually violated, where a person had been raped. It could be just you having, say, a father or uncle looking at you in a very sexual way that just feels violating, and that you still remember that. You know, you kind of have this body imagery of yourself feeling like a sex object.
Okay. And if you ever see that look again, it might trigger something.
Absolutely.
I see that. So I'm looking around your room, and I will be having pictures of this wonderful space that Dr. Ray has the opportunity to work in. It's beautiful. But he has all these chakra bowls, right?
Yes.
And
the mouths to hit them. We were joking about how it would just be so apropos to actually have the mouths with vibrators.
Vibrators and
right.
all lined up here because of the kind of work that you do.
Yes.
So do you use these?
The vibrators or the mallets?
Well, the mallets and the vibrators.
We don't really have vibrators
You say this
here.
is what it looks like. You know, just training women to be okay with their sexuality. But the bowls, they're beautiful.
Yes.
And
400 years old.
And they're Tibetan?
Yes. They've been on many bodies.
Wonderful. And so do you use those in your work?
Actually, I do. For example, if I'm working on, say, sexual healing, I might use a bowl that vibrates with a root or second chakra.
Okay.
So after the release, I'll have them actually put the bowl next to their body and we'll hit it. And they will kind of allow the energy to move in and out of them to help with the release.
I love that.
Yes.
So you really are bringing in the spiritual aspect into your work.
Well, you had an experience. I hit the heart chakra bowl, and you can just feel it vibrating in your body.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Very, really, really nice. So, to work with a psychologist, and I've had my own therapy work that I've had the opportunity to work with a therapist before.
And how was that?
It was fascinating, it wasn't like this, and so I'm really fascinated by your work. And with women's sexuality, I think that a lot of the women that are watching the show today and tomorrow and later on are going to be really interested in the kind, that there is a way to heal any aspect of our not understanding our sexuality.
One thing I want to bring up too is that one of the reasons why I probably really got interested in doing this work is, for the most part, women will come here thinking that they have some type of problem, that the problem is them, that they're not normal. And if anything, I help normalize. I mean, I start sharing with them my insight and how that they should reconnect with that divine essence that's within themselves. That more than anything, I kind of hold up a healthier mirror, because they're kind of seeing themselves from this distorted perspective.
Right.
And so what's interesting is that, for the most part, women do, when they are talking to, say, a masculine person, that they're kind of seeking that guidance. Not meaning that they think this person's God, but when a person has worked with a lot of people and they see people come and go with a high success rate, that they kind of take that in and realize that, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I've been thinking about this in the wrong way. And then more than often they'll just, with that acknowledgement that they're normal and they're beautiful and they're healthy and don't ever suppress that beauty, they start feeling good.
Right. Well, it's recognizing who they are, that essence of who they are.
Yes.
And once you believe that, then the healing happens.
Yes.
Right. So it kind
of. And not all guys are like creeps and looking at you the way that you think. I mean, again, we're not going to get into this, but it's like the law of attraction. If you energetically are putting that out there, that you attract it. So I'm sure that might be your reality. But I know a lot of cool guys. I know a lot of guys who think differently.
Wow. And
see women differently. And once you start having those experiences, and you take that in, you talk to your girlfriends about that, you share that, you continue to magnify that, and you'll start attracting more guys that are that way.
Right. I love that. So, Dr. Ray.
Yes.
I love this topic. I've been teasing this topic for a couple months now. So I'm teasing my audience about it. I'm saying it's going to happen. Really, really is going to happen, and I'm so glad I got that opportunity to have that happen right now. But so I had a friend call me last night, and she was talking about how, you know, how there's a difference between men and women in relationship. And can you talk about that a little bit, what the differences are between men and women and how we approach relationships and how we...
Yeah, well, if you're at a party and you listen to women communicate what's going on in their lives, or if you just ask them how you doing, they might immediately talk about their boyfriend or husband or some other person's relationship. You ask a man how they're doing, they'll talk about their career. They'll talk about their accomplishments. And you hear that at wherever you're at, and not all the time. And so I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, that both men and women are seeking peace, freedom, love, fulfillment, but men go about it by trying to find it through the quest, meaning that they're trying to connect to their calling. They're trying to get in alignment with who they are. It's like, if you look at a lot of these movies where it's either like a monk or someone in it, like Clint Eastwood, it's a cowboy, he's traveling by himself, he's working through demons. Like even The Last Samurai, it's like a guy struggling with alcoholism in the past, and he ends up meeting a woman and so on. But it's always kind of a man kind of fighting demons and battling. Where with women, it's about the relationship. It's about trying to experience fullness with that. It's about growing. For the most part, women won't run away. Women are much stronger than men are emotionally, and they want to talk about it. They want to experience it. They're not necessarily afraid to sit with a man and really work through it.
Right.
And so it's that part. Energetically, women, you know, they definitely want to feel adored. They definitely want to feel supported. They want to feel that love. They want to experience the divine in the relationship. Whereas with men, I think more in a relationship, they maybe want the woman to maybe support them in their career, to feel appreciated, to feel needed. It's interesting is that in a lot of relationships, you know, a common thing that a woman maybe doesn't feel paid attention to, and a man doesn't feel appreciated.
Oh.
Very common.
Very, very common.
We're talking about masculine and feminine energy, the way that we project that onto our partners.
Right. Does that have something to do with balance within ourselves?
It does,
to a degree of our masculine and feminine.
It does, but here's the thing: is that I have couples show up here and they are in disagreement with a lot of stuff, but you can see the passion. Just like, say, the movie The Notebook. I'm not promoting it. I always mention this, that until the end, there's just kind of this passion. They didn't display a relationship that was easy. There was so much passion.
Right.
And in fact, at one point in the movie, she's with a guy who makes a lot of money. He's more successful, but there's not that intensity.
Right.
I think we all have come forth to grow. And so couples will be here, and they're trying to diffuse that energy. But if you diffuse the energy, what you might end up with is two people who are masculine or two people who are feminine. So there's not that arc of energy to create that chemistry. That's what it's ultimately about. So what I share with the couples who are maybe fighting, not really getting along, is that it's trying to find a common ground to communicate, but not taking away that energy. Because the thing is that her being needing his help, her being feminine, her being not organized, is also what makes her feminine and attractive and different than him.
Right.
So he's going to get her to conform to be like some little dude,
right,
and no longer be attracted to her, and then go outside the relationship, or he accepts that part of her and she accepts that part of him being more masculine in structure.
Wow.
I mean, there's a distinction between feminine and masculine energy, and the language I'm speaking is not new stuff. It's actually in Chinese medicine. I mean, they basically, like, if you go to, I work with clients who are really feminine, and they're kind of scattered and whatever. I've sent them to see a Chinese doctor, and they notice that they might have some yang deficiency, meaning the masculine, that it's not balancing them. It's interesting. So we can use Chinese medicine, or we can get into relationships.
Right. Well, that's my greatest learning comes from relationships.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's awesome.
And that's where my greatest learning is. Oh my God, I am not an expert in any relationship by far.
Right.
I suck.
Me too, but that's another show, right?
But I'm a good narrator when I create the drama.
Right.
I just did that because blah blah blah. She's
right. That's right. Not hard.
I don't want Dr. Ray.
Right.
Just be human.
No, just be you. Do you, right?
Yes, do me.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's wonderful. I love that. With regards to how women communicate with men, so if there is that difference in relationship, you know, how we're relating, how can I communicate with my partner to get my needs met, whether my sexual needs or whatever it is, and vice versa? How do we do that?
Listen to what this sounds like vibrationally.
Okay.
Go chop me some wood versus, honey, I'm cold. How do you think the man's going to respond? Which one?
Oh, honey, I'm cold.
Absolutely, because
Right.
a man wants to feel appreciated. He wants to
Right.
be able to slay dragons. So
Yes.
it's very important to kind of maybe try to feel into his body, not try to use comments that might sound emasculating.
Right.
But when it comes to being in a bedroom, of course, men want to have it all figured out. Men do not want to be wrong. So it'd be very important to talk about this outside, not in the bedroom, because
Right.
again, all of a sudden he's going to start performing, and you're going to feel that, or he might even lose his erection because all the energy is going back up into his head.
Right.
So it's about talking to him how you like certain things, and maybe asking, would you like to explore more? Would you? I've been reading something, or I met with Dr. Ray.
Right,
He
right.
says that I can do no.
That's right.
But it's
Right.
it's her saying that, would you like to explore this with me? And for the most part, men want to be your best lover.
Right.
They want to know they're number one.
That's
so it
right.
has to be in a way where that you're inviting them, that they're creating this with you.
Right.
But you have to know it yourself. If you don't know how to get yourself off, you're not going to be able to know how to teach that to him.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing for me to hear personally. I mean, because I've actually watched where you know, in the bedroom we're real passionate, and there's, you know, and then I can watch it go him to start thinking. When
Absolutely.
he starts to think that it's over.
Absolutely.
It's over.
Absolutely.
And I can watch it.
Or that you know that he's on a time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
exactly.
can kind of you can tell that
right.
he's.
So how I mean
Or he's got a goal in mind.
Right.
I got to get her off.
Right. Exactly. And so the minute they shift from that place, you know, of being in the moment and being connected, and I could just, it's almost like I went, well, he's in his head.
Yeah.
He went right to his head. And not that I don't do that too, because I do. You know, but.
Women are able to have, there are some women who are able to have orgasms without even touching themselves, just with thought alone, by connecting in their body. So imagine if a man were to know that and to help guide that, to facilitate that while being inside of her.
Right.
I mean, how that experience will be much richer. Her orgasms will be deeper. And also with men. I mean, men can get erections without anything happening. Just one thought. I remember that happening when I was 13. Like, oh God, I got to go right on the chalkboard.
Right.
But it's just one thought alone.
Right.
And so both men and women can connect to their bodies on an energetic level through breath work and be aroused. Just
that's like Tantra, right? Is that what the Tantra idea of?
Well, Tantra is it's kind of combining your sexuality with spirituality. It's about connecting to your higher self. It's about you and I having eye contact and feeling that love before we do anything.
Right.
And Tantra might mean, you know, connecting without even touching or having clothes off or anything else. It's really more about connecting to the divine, and that the ultimate purpose of the relationship is growth.
Right.
It's love. And I've seen that. I mean, I don't tell people I practice Tantra for the most part because their minds go to these erotic images. But I remember this couple had been broken up for a month, and when they enter the room, they are looking at each other like, oh my God, I miss you, I love you. There's just so much passion. And I had them sit apart, and they were like two children wanting to play and kiss. I said, I want you to hold that thought and just look at each other energetically, and you can just see this passion, this energy. It was like electricity.
I'd love to have a camera that could actually.
Yeah, and it was just, it was beautiful. And I just said, just be aware, if you can both stay in this now moment,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part in a relationship, there probably would never be problems.
I love that.
Because problems usually start from the past,
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, projecting to the future. It never really has to do with the now moment.
Right, exactly, boy.
Yes.
Don't I know
So
that?
Tantra is
Right.
about getting the person to the
Mhm.
now moment. It's not necessarily transcending yourself so you're having out-of-body experiences.
Right.
It's about connecting heaven to earth.
Mm.
It's about having a heavenly, physical experience. It's both.
I love that.
Yes.
Wow, this has been fun.
Cool.
It has been really fun. One of the things that I mentioned to you, I'd love to leave the audience with, something to think about with regards to their own sexuality. Do you have a question that you ask that might, be the effect, the most change in a person? So.
Well, what is
in their
sexual?
thought.
Yeah. What does sexuality mean to you? What was your first exposure to it? Was it a magazine? Could be a bodybuilding magazine or your dad's Playboy. Was it walking in on your parents? Was it seeing it in the movies? Was it, you understand? Is that we've all been exposed to earlier images of sexuality, and we have internalized that within ourselves, and we have come up with some idea now which might not be true to ourselves now. So it's about asking those. It's taking like your personal inventory of like, where did you first begin to think about it? When did you first explore in yourself? And just taking a history and seeing how that works with you now.
Right.
And then breathing through that, and just maybe working someone if there is some type of trauma.
Right.
Because we're not taught a whole lot here in the West about that. We're taught how to become basically consumers.
Right, exactly.
And so there's a major disconnect with sexuality, even in the East. I mean, you have people who are celibate, then you have people who are like everyday people.
Right.
It's like, where's that bridge? How can you kind of be monk-like but also very sexual?
Right.
And so we don't necessarily have that. But imagine this, the way that you came to be, meaning that the way that you were born or the way that you were conceived was through two people making love.
Right.
How beautiful is that? It's yin and yang coming together, creating that spark of energy, and boom, here you are. And so if it's how you enter the world, and if it's something that's in your genes, it's in your body, why not honor it and connect to that vibration in yourself? It's I'm going to digress here for a moment, but Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, he has a chapter in there that's called Sexual Transmutation. And he said that the most successful men also had a high libido. That and I think the ones that he interviewed all had a partner that basically said that they are very passionate. Think about this. Your sexual center, your sexual chakra is also connected to your creativity. It's in your this chakra here. So if there's some disconnect with that, you might have some disconnect to creativity to become successful. These people who have this high libido are connecting to that flow, so they have a lot more energy. They're more inspired and motivated to make things happen.
That's true. I love chakra work.
Yes.
But, having that balance is so important. So important.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, Dr. Ray, so what's next for you? I know that you're, as we close today, I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You do teleseminars and workshops, and you have your private practice.
I have a huge television show I'm not going to mention right now because in case, who knows. But I'll let you know about that. But I am writing a book which will be about this, about sacred sexuality, relationships, but in a way where there's actual techniques to kind of connect to your core self. Everything that we're sharing here will be in that book. I have no idea when it will be finished because I also do a lot of other writing for other things. And I'm always doing teleseminars and workshops here in Los Angeles, and I do travel, periodically. But I mostly see private clients, and so.
Great. And you have a website and a blog and
several websites,
and
yes.
So that after the show, I do a blog.
Okay.
After the show, and I'll include a whole bunch of pictures from the shoot.
Okay.
And I'll include
so if she puts anything like vibrators, that was she took those pictures somewhere else.
Yeah, she took them out of her room.
Out of her purse.
That's right. Exactly. No, that's right. tell anybody.
What's that buzzing sound?
I don't know. Oh, did I not turn it off before I came in here? This is funny. But I will have all of the resources that we spoke about. Anything that we mentioned, Napoleon Hill's book, just any kind of resources that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get from you, and I will put them, on a big list after the show.
Okay,
so
great.
thank you so much, Dr. Ray, for being
You're welcome.
with me. I really appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right.
all for watching, and
Thank you.
I'll see you next time.